Good evening, folks. This is the Red Hook Town Board meeting of December 11th, 2018. May I ask you to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Steve, thank you very much. If you'd be kind enough to scroll over or pan over, I'm the one doing the scrolling, I guess, to the agenda so folks can get an idea of what we will be discussing tonight. Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to start the meeting as we always do, the first meeting of the month with the supervisor's report. This is a report of the town's finances for the month of November 2018, period 1st through 30th. We started the month with an opening balance of $4,959,000. We had receipts of $402,931. Disbursements of $746,498, leaving a balance of $4,615,791. You are going to ask about the Community Preservation Fund, aren't you?
Yeah, a little birdie told me what to expect.
So the month, yes, the little birdie. The month of October, for the month of October, we received in November $6,028 in the CPF fund. Well, lo and behold, yesterday I received the check for the November amount, and are you all sitting down? That's a humorous question there, because yes, everybody's sitting down. $212,000 was received in 1 month for the Community Preservation Fund.
Wow.
So you will see that in the end of the year. So we will finish the year with $1.35 million in the Community Preservation Fund. And obviously it's done a lot of open space, important open space preservation work, and we have funds to do more in the future. All right, we have a long list of budget adjustments. Long list of budget adjustments, as you see here. These adjustments, we are pulling funds from our budget lines where we expect not to expend all those funds and using it towards our capital projects. And you see this very long list. We're reducing appropriations, for example, in the A fund, to the tune of $141,000, increasing revenues $12,000, and increasing appropriations. Those are the transfers for the various projects, capital projects, and I created a little cheat sheet for you, because that's it there, so you understand where we will be after these transfers for the various projects. We'll have another $90,000 to put into our rec park field project. We will have another $20,000 which we'll need for our playground project. We'll be talking more about donations for a playground tonight. That's in the A fund. In the B fund, we are making several transfers, some of which you already know we're doing. The $42,500 are being set aside for highway for next year's budget. And we are also appropriating, as part of this transfer, $100,000 towards the cost of replacing the culvert on Stony Brook Road. As part of these budget adjustments. In addition, there's $25,000 that's being set aside to provide your support of paving the recycling area. As you know, during inclement weather, it's a challenge for that area to remain easy for folks to utilize, and certainly for our highway department to maintain in such a way that it can be utilized by our residents. So we have sort of a finger to the wind estimate from our engineer of what that would cost. Obviously, we won't know for sure until we go out to bid, but as one of these budget adjustments, there is money set aside for that as well.
Can I ask what's the deal with the reduced appropriation for police protection?
Yes, we had budgeted more than we need in 2018.
For which one, I'm sorry?
Police protection
Okay. Like $9,000?
by $9,000, yeah.
Not surprising.
No.
Did they not bill us as much as previous, or?
We had not, we had budgeted for additional coverage, which we won't have till 2019.
We won't have the additional coverage?
We didn't have additional coverage in 2018, but we will in 2019.
Okay.
And that's the same budget amount in 2019 that it was in 2018. So, any other questions? All right, very good. I also gave you, I think, in one of these folders, we'll look at what the anticipated fund balance for each, unappropriated fund balance will be for each one of the funds. Let's see where. It should be in the beginning of your folder, was it?
Is this what you're looking for?
Exactly. Do you have that?
Yeah, I was in the middle.
Do you want me to
Okay.
finish?
So, no, it's fine. Just so you see, these are rough estimates, because obviously we haven't closed the books fully for the year, but just so that you see where we may be in fund balance. It accomplishes some of the goals that the comptroller wanted to see from us, but keeps our fund balances quite high and prepared for more capital projects and the unexpected. Okay, with that said, would anybody like to make a motion to approve the budget adjustments?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, we also have a town clerk's report.
So did you want to vote on your supervisor's report?
Oh, I forget to do that, thank you. All in favor?
Well, we need
Motion?
motion.
Who wants to make a motion? Harry?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Thank you, Sarah. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
Okay. Sue?
Town clerk monthly report for November of 2018. Total local shares remitted to supervisor as town revenue, $852.94. Amount remitted to Ag and Markets for their spade and neuter program, $54. Amount remitted to New York State Environmental Conservation, $1,104.56. for a total county and local revenue of $2,011.50. And it's pursuant to section 27, sub 1 of the town law, I hereby certify that the foregoing is a full and true statement of all fees and monies received by me, Sue McCann, town clerk, town of Red Hook, during the period stated above in connection with my office. And I think that was the first time we didn't sell a marriage license this month, so we didn't really get anything.
Well,
That's not good.
well, it says marriage certificate.
Yep.
Oh, but that's just to buy it with the blanks.
Right. Fill in the blanks.
Okay. Thanks very much, Sue. Is there a motion to accept the town clerk's report?
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. Okay, at this point, announcements. I only have one announcement, which is that our regularly scheduled second town board meeting is December 26th. We have opted to have a fairly lengthy meeting tonight in lieu of having 2 meetings this month. And so there will be no town board meeting December 26th. Our next regularly scheduled town board meeting will be January 8th, 2019. And obviously, we wish you all happy holidays. Okay, public comments. Is there somebody who would like to make some public comments? Linda.
What would it be without me?
What would it be without public comment?
Naturally, I'm going to comment about the website. I'm glad to see that the language portion has now been put in. However, it should have been put in right from the beginning.
Yeah.
Where it's located down at the bottom is, I believe, difficult. In case people don't go all the way down to the bottom, they won't see it. And when you do press on it, it changes nicely. However, you have to go back up to the top to get to the option to turn it off so it goes back to English.
I'm not sure what browser you're using, but from my browser, it shows up at the top. That's interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Well, would you send us what your browser is, and then maybe
Okay.
we'll see if there's something we can
I'm
do
sure other
about
people
those
use the same
browsers.
browser, so.
Sure,
Yeah.
yeah, I didn't realize that there was an option for, for where it would show up, so that's interesting.
Okay, the other thing is that many of the committees still do not have their minutes on, and any little narrative about what they do. It's very incomplete, and I think you really need to push for all these groups to get their work done. So maybe you should be pushing that in January. Otherwise, as I feel from the very beginning, everything should have been put in there before you went live for the public. So you need to work harder, and they need to work harder. That should be all filled in.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. All right, would anybody else like to make some public comments? Okay, very good. Well, we're going to jump right into our first item on the agenda, which is to set a public hearing regarding water rates and charges for Water District Number 1. As you all know, Hank Van Paris and the Water Board have made a request. They would like to raise the quarterly charges for the water district by 5% next year. And they're projecting perhaps that level of increase will be needed for more than just 1 year going forward to help pay for future costs related to the water tank and the system itself and the piping underneath. And so for the folks at home, Steve, if they'd like to see up on the big screen.
Show the comparison rates.
Yep. So the current charges on the left for a minimum 9,000 gallons would increase by $2.04 per quarter. And then if it were to continue 5% each year in order to pay for those major capital improvements, it would eventually be $11.27 more per quarter 5 years down the road. And there's the additional charge. If you're in the district, if you're out of the district, It's a 50% surcharge on top of what everyone else pays. Other charges, no change, and so Bill was referencing comparison proposed for next year, so the town of Red Hook for its water district, and that's the cost for the minimum charge versus the Village of Red Hook, Village of Tivoli, and Village of Rhinebeck. So I think Hank would like us to recognize that, relatively speaking, the cost is attractive still next year.
We're the lowest in the area, and we have funding planned for replacements and changes and the future when we start to have to do some rebuilding, which is inevitable.
Okay, so we have Town of Red Hook Resolution Number dated December 11th, 2018. It's establishing a date for a public hearing. And so, what say we schedule it for January 8th at 7:35. Whereas the Red Hook.
January 8th is our first public meeting.
Yeah.
Business meeting.
All right. January 8th at 7:35. Whereas the Red Hook Water Board has recommended modification of the water rates and charges to increase the minimum rate from $40.70 to $42.74 for up to 9,000 gallons, and from $4.95 to $5.20 per 1,000 gallons over 9,000. And so there's a schedule of the fees. I so move this resolution to set the public hearing. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Okay. We are now moving on to resolution. Happy news. To accept donations for the Red Hook Playground Rejuvenation Project. And there's been a wonderful group of individuals, Red Hook Plays is what they call themselves, who have been out and about the community and helping to raise funds that are going to be utilized for our new playground coming spring of 2019, already ordered. Shayna Weiler, Jen Kavanaugh, would you like to come and make a presentation?
Yes. So we've been collecting donations from community members over the past several months.
Many months.
Many months. And we wanted to call out some of the larger donors. These are individuals or businesses that have donated over $1,000 or more. The Tree Vault family, Funshine, Red Hook Auto, Rhinebeck Bank, the Red Hook Diner, Crown LP Gas, Colton's Extraordinary Cause, Ulster Savings Charitable Foundation, Third Eye Associates, Hannaford's, M&T Bank, Yellow Bell Farm, Dell's Dairy Farm, the Red Hook Rotary Foundation, and Hitchcock and Company Master Electricians. There are many more individuals who have donated smaller amounts than $1,000, but every little bit helps, and we just want to thank everybody that has contributed to helping us get this new playground. I don't know, is there anything you want to say, or?
So, on
So-
behalf of Red
Okay.
Hook Plays, we would like to present the town of Red Hook with preliminary, we're still accepting donations, so anybody who wants to donate, still accepting, but at this point, we'd like to pass off a good chunk of it. We'd like to present you with a check for $17,860.66 to be used for, explicitly for the playground renewal project on Rec Park East.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, we'll take it, we'll cash it.
Well done.
And in addition to that, we received $10,000 directly from JP Morgan Charitable Giving Fund. I believe that was Dell's Dairy, right?
Oh, no, that's included in,
That-
well, that's not
No,
there,
that's
but
not there, but yes.
we have thanked
Right.
them.
Yeah, they were on my list.
Right,
Yes.
okay. So that's great, so altogether, that's almost $28,000.
And we also have a online crowdfunding website that is holding
Oh,
something around the tune of, we won't know until they take fees and all that other administration stuff, another $4,000. So that's already been donated.
and if there are folks that still want to donate, they can go to our website, redhookplays.com, and there's a donate button.
And that site has like pictures of the plans and
Yeah.
information about there are other ways to be involved too, right? Like we're gonna need volunteers to help
Yes.
build.
Yeah, in the spring, we'll be constructing the playground, and it will be a community build, so we will need a lot of volunteers
Right, and
with hammers and shovels and
Whistles.
How long,
whistles.
for what period of time will the playground probably not be in use while it's being renovated? Do you have a ballpark figure?
Yeah, so the construction itself will take, I think, about 2 weekends, but prior to that, there's site work that will need to be done. We'll need to take out the old playground equipment and prepare the site. I'm not exactly sure how
It
long that
doesn't
will
sound like
take.
it'd be very long.
I mean, maybe a
After all,
month.
Yeah, maybe a month.
we're talking about basically April of 2019. The playground will be under construction either
Yeah.
because of removal or creation. And as you referenced, we'll need for the weekend, I think the first weekend targeted is April, third weekend, fourth weekend?
I think it was the first 2 weekends of May.
Of
Because
May.
the last weekend of April is when the softball tournament is.
Okay, okay. So we'll be putting out notices as those dates approach and asking for volunteers. We're hoping to have a lot of volunteers and
No special skills required, and we hope
Right.
to have it be not only a community build, but also community building. So have festive things, games for kids, food, music, a big
Great.
shindig.
Great. Well, we can't thank you enough. I know how much work it is and how difficult sometimes it is to ask people for money for projects, even great projects. And so we really appreciate that and we look forward to it. I think the community's gonna be very happy when this project's done, so. Thank you both and everybody else who helped, because I know your group was a bigger group, and please extend our gratitude to all of them, all right? Thank you very much. All right, so we have resolution number 81 dated December 12th, 2018, authorizing the acceptance of donations for recreational park East Playground. Now therefore be resolved by the town board of the town of Red Hook as follows. The town hereby accepts donations in the aggregate amount of $17,860.66. And also $10,000 received directly from J.P. Morgan Charitable Giving Fund. On the condition that the monies be used for the town's playground renewal project at the Recreational Park East, and this resolution shall take place immediately, and I so move happily.
Second.
Or Sarah seconds.
All right, yes, let's have Sarah second this one.
Except today is the 11th.
What did I say, 12th? I'm in a hurry. I'm afraid it's gonna be the 12th by the time we get done with this meeting. Thank you, Catherine. I forgot to vote on the first thing, I got the date wrong on the second thing. Let's see what I can do on the third thing.
Don't forget Christmas.
Good night, thank you. I won't forget Christmas, okay. All right, we have a motion, we have a second, all in favor? Aye, thank you very much. All right, our third item on the agenda is with animal control and housing contracts. I'm gonna suggest, if we could, can we skip over, if you wouldn't mind, to agenda item number 7, because I noticed Karen Schnella McDonald is here, in case we have any questions for her. I don't know that we do, but if we do, we can let her go home. Agenda item number 7. We spoke at our last meeting about our desire to continue water testing along the Saltkill watershed. We are working with another subcommittee. We are working to have watershed protection regulations put in place in 2019. This is a grant-funded effort to protect our natural resources, and coupled with that, we'll want to look at aquifer protection and watershed protection regulations as well. The Saltkill Watershed Community Group, I did get it right, didn't I? Has been testing
Robert, before you
14
go
different
on,
sites.
you want to let Sarah Caesar
Yeah.
say?
What?
Just like due to the
Oh.
relationship with Bart, I'm gonna
Did you
recuse
wanna
myself.
recuse
Yeah,
yourself?
so I'll
Yes.
just do that now before you
Okay.
launch in, okay?
Thanks very
Okay,
much.
so because I work for Bard College and this group is related to Bard and does the testing at Bard, I'm gonna recuse myself and I will be back.
Thanks, thanks Sarah.
Okay.
So, yes, the Saltkill Watershed Community Group, which is members of the Red Hook community. Bard College was involved in getting some of the grant funds. DEC participates regularly. Riverkeeper is there all the time. Help me, Karen, who else is, we have interns that are part of this effort. It's a very large group.
Interns, students, Scenic Hudson,
Cindy Hudson participates?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, everybody's invited.
Everybody's invited. And you've been meeting monthly for, I don't want to say, but it's been over 2 years, right?
Yeah, about 2 years.
Wow. So there's water testing that occurs along the Saltkill, 14 different sites. And so we would like to continue to have that testing occur, and we've been approached to see if we would contribute towards the cost of that water testing in order to see if the science can help us with our regulations. So we have a services agreement that's been drafted up by our attorney to the town to expend an amount of $3,000, what would in essence be about half a year's worth of testing for those 14 sites.
So I would call the board's attention to, in the draft agreement, we have a scope of services that was provided by Karen for BARD, which explains the type of characteristics they're testing for. And this contract is really only for the testing services. It's not related to the volunteer activities that Saltkill is doing. So it's just for the lab at BARD to actually do the water testing that they're going to undertake. And as Robert said, there's a fee for services of $500 for each set of monthly tests that are outlined in the scope of services, with a total maximum cost of $3,000 for the testing services.
And as the grant funds are pretty much expended, who's going to cover the other costs?
Well, the water quality testing has never really been covered by
Oh.
grant funding.
Okay,
The Bard College funds the water lab, but these sites are extra. These sites are for the Saltkill watershed community.
right.
So they're not really covered by anything. We're just trying to pull together what we can, when we can. And we're looking for a more long-term approach to that, but right now we just want to keep going while we're looking for that long-term approach.
Okay.
Chris, can you look at Exhibit C?
Here's a map for the folks at home of how big the
Yeah.
watershed is.
First line.
Yeah, it should say service should be ready for a fee of $500. Yeah. Yeah, I noticed that.
Most of the watershed is in the town of Red Hook. A little bit extends into Milan, a tiny bit in Rhinebeck.
Right. But all of our sites are pretty much within the town of Red
Town of
Hook.
Red Hook.
One, I think, is just over the line.
Yeah. Well, it's good to test before, right? I thought I had a map of the sites themselves with the little triangles, but
You do, here we go. There's a,
well, I wanted to project it on the screen.
oh, that you have
Yeah.
in the, so Karen sent it earlier this afternoon, I don't know if you
when we begin.
They are also on the map, you just projected, but they're harder to see.
See on that map, okay.
Yeah, I don't know
Well,
if
we
you
may
got
have
the
to
map. This
reboot
is
the
the map.
computer at this point.
Yeah.
How's that show?
This,
When you're done.
It's
okay.
right up through here,
and
this is to the golf course.
Okay, did you all have any questions about, you found a typo there, Chris?
Yeah, we'll clean that up.
Okay. Okay, very good. If there are no further questions about it, I would entertain a motion to approve resolution number 82,
Yes.
dated December 11th, Catherine, 2018. It's authorizing agreement for professional services of water testing between the town of Red Hook and Bard College, who has the lab. Whereas the town is considering the development of additional regulations applicable to water withdrawal and other extractive activities. It goes on to talk about water quality monitoring to test for certain variables such as sewage, indicating bacteria, nutrient levels, turbidity, water temperature, and salinity, conductivity, in order to establish baseline information about the health of the Saltkill waterway. And I guess we should just sort of just say out there that we're fortunate the Saltkill is fairly healthy. You know, that the tests are quite good. I mean, it's not
They're good, there's some indicators
right,
that show that we need to pay attention to a few things.
right.
But this is being done to make sure the conditions don't worsen.
Right.
Yeah.
Very good. So whereas based on the recommendation of the CAC, the town board has determined that it is in the best interest of the town to undertake such testing at a total cost not to exceed $3,000, and such other terms and conditions as specified in the form of agreement for professional services which are attached. Now therefore be it resolved. And we had a motion by who? Was that you, Bill?
Harry, I thought,
I thought Harry did.
Harry?
Harry moved it, I'll second it.
Okay. Yep. Any further discussion?
I don't think so.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you very much. It's a good thing Sue is keeping track of who's voting over there. Thank you very much. Okay, Sarah can come back. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you very much. We'll be back with more reports, I'm sure.
Okay, good, yes. We'd like to see, I'd like to even post some of those results so
Oh,
people
yeah.
can see the water testing.
Yep.
Great.
We'll be back. Thank you.
Okay. We are moving back to item number 3, which is a resolution to approve animal control and housing contracts. We have contracted with DCSPCA to house animals and to engage in animal control services.
this is an additional year to what we already are doing, right?
Exactly. In fact, I don't believe there are any changes to this year's contract,
Except for money.
except for money.
Increase their rates, right?
Right, yeah.
And the increase is,
Increase. Is it listed here? Well, it's 10,300 for the animal control.
yeah,
Oh, yeah, there, on the first page of the animal control services part.
yep. Section 3.
Yeah, what was the, I guess it's Oh, I hear in the vouchers
It
somewhere.
is.
It's like a little
It's not in the vouchers, but.
under $50 more.
Yeah, it's a
Right.
slight increase.
Last year they held steady, I believe.
Study, yeah, we had 2 years
They
of the
also
same
increased
thing.
their vaccination charges,
Yeah.
so you know. They,
I see that,
believe
that's
they actually did, that was one change. They changed, so it's no longer just rabies. It's a core vaccination, which is rabies, distemper, and bordetella, for a unified cost, okay? That was the
Okay.
other thing that I saw. They were all rate related, but that's a slight difference.
Well, it was only a couple of years ago, we went out to bid for these services, and I think we found this to be the best option.
Yeah, I mean, this is for what it is, it's the best option, the best, next best would be if we had someone, more local, but that hasn't materialized yet. And so we're grateful for the service they provide, and as far as I know, we've received almost no complaints. People seem to be satisfied, so.
Yeah. All right, if there are no other questions, shall we entertain resolution number 83, dated December 11th, 2018, approving dog control housing agreement and animal control services agreement between the town of Red Hook and the Dutchess County SPCA, and I would so move.
Second.
Second by Sarah. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor? Aye. Thank you very much. Okay, so we were talking briefly about culvert. We want to get that Stony Brook culvert fixed as soon as possible. We have engaged our engineers, and what we needed to do was figure out how we were going to finance the work. Estimated to be a little over $200,000. We won't know the exact cost until we go out to bid. We think the maximum cost would be $225,000. There's a bond authorization in front of you for up to $200,000, but we've already approved $100,000 to go towards the project, which means that we may only need about $125,000 to borrow against it. But until we go out to bid, we won't know that for sure. So we've prepared resolution number 84, just so that we don't have to change the borrowing authorization should the amount exceed what we anticipated. And we want to move full speed so that once the weather improves, we can get the work done. So are there any questions about this? This is a 5-year bond we're talking about here.
Just one of those things we gotta do.
Do what you gotta do.
So
We
do
knew
it
we
the
were
best
gonna
way
have,
we can.
we knew we were gonna have to do it. We didn't realize quite how soon,
Right.
but we knew we were gonna have to do it. So, all right, it's resolution number 84 dated December 11th, 2018, authorizing a bridge replacement. We call it culvert bridge. It's a very large concrete box culvert. Some people call it a bridge. It's a replacement on Stony Brook Road at an estimated maximum cost of $225,000. The issuance of serial bonds of the town of Red Hook, Dutchess County, New York, in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $200,000 pursuant to the local finance law to finance a portion of the cost thereof and delegating certain powers in connection therewith to the town supervisor. And I so move. Is there a second?
Second?
Shall we have a roll call, please? All in favor? Christine?
Aye.
William?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Sarah?
Aye.
Harold?
Aye.
Very good. All in favor? It is approved. That is bond resolution number 84. Sorry. We're moving on to Agenda item number 5, that's a resolution setting a public hearing for the Red Hook and Tivoli fire contracts. As you know, we budgeted 2% increases in the service amounts for both fire protection districts. And this would be a good time to thank all the volunteers that wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning and respond to these calls, because I don't know what we would do without them. Frankly, the cost of a paid fire company is in the millions. And so we have these 2 drafts. Bill, I know that you and the mayor met with the Red Hook Fire Company. I had several follow-up phone calls, and so they're expecting this contract, the way it reads, to be up for a public hearing at our next meeting.
Yes, they understand all the details and they're, want to be heard on the subject, and they will appear at the public hearing on January 8th, I guess is the date.
Correct.
And so they will make a presentation at that time so that the members of the town board can hear what they have to say about the proposed agreement.
Yep.
Contract.
They're gonna need some assistance with their ladder truck is now 18 years old. And so they're preparing for replacement of that in a couple of years, and so they'll be looking for assistance with obtaining a new one. Okay, so this is resolution number 85, dated December 11th, 2018, establishing a date for a public hearing regarding the approval by the town board of the town of Red Hook of a fire protection district fire service agreement between the town of Red Hook and the village of Red Hook and the Red Hook Fire Company for 2019 and 2020, and a fire protection district fire service agreement between the town of Red Hook and the village of Tivoli for 2019 and 2020, and please don't ask me to repeat them. So, might I suggest that we schedule this public hearing for 7:50 on January 8th. Give 15 minutes for the first public hearing. Does that work? Okay, resolution number 85, setting a public hearing on the 8th for 7:50 for both fire contracts, and I so move.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
7:50?
750, 750. 750, okay. The next item on the agenda is a bond resolution number 86, and this is updating. Our previous bond resolution needs to be updated, and
Did you distribute the revised one or not yet?
yes, is this one, this is the one that had the typo on it, yeah?
Karen, we fixed it.
Yes.
There you go.
Yes, the word referendum was
We fixed it.
misspelled.
It just wasn't in time for the distribution.
Yes, okay. Well, she has one already, I just handed mine. Thank you. Okay, so number 86, the word referendum was misspelled on the previous one. So this referendum is updated as to a new date. It also includes the additional monies set aside for all the recreation improvements, all of which were included in the adopted 2019 budget. So now the resolution amending the previous bond resolution number 88 dated last year, now December 12th, 2017, authorizing recreation park improvements at an estimated increased maximum cost of $1.85 million, the issuance of serial bonds of the town of Red Hook, Dutchess County, in an increased aggregate principal amount not to exceed $1.2 million, pursuant to the local finance law to finance a portion of the cost thereof, providing that this resolution shall be subject to a permissive referendum and delegating certain powers in connection therewith to the town supervisor. And We have towards this project, the CDBG grants and other grants that are in the works. And we hope to have some exciting recreational park improvements in 2019. So, resolution number 86, and I so move. Is there a second?
Second?
Okay, any further discussion? If not, yes, sir.
I would, I haven't seen this before.
Okay.
And did you, I missed the last meeting, was there discussion then?
I don't know if we discussed the bond resolution update then or not, Harry. But this is essentially just the changing the amounts as we approved in the budget for 2019. There's nothing in addition
Kind of
to that.
breathtaking to see 1.85 million here, and
Yep.
it's something that at this point I would not vote for.
Okay.
Without a full understanding of it.
Okay, well, as you know, it was included in the 2019 budget, which had no tax increase. And we have already set aside over $600,000 for all the rec improvements, including that $200,000 CDBG grant. All right, there's a motion to approve Resolution 86. Is there a second?
Bill did.
Oh, sorry. Thanks, Bill. Okay, let's do a roll call. Christine?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Myself? Aye. Sarah?
Aye.
Harry?
I can't go along with this because I have a lot of concerns about the rec park and the rec park plans that this is associated with, and therefore I will abstain or say no, either one.
Well, it sounds like
No,
you should say no, Harry.
Yeah, there's a difference between the two.
Okay, so that's a no on Harry. Okay, the resolution is approved. Okay, next item on the agenda is a discussion on the mailbox policy we were given from our highway superintendent. So Ashley points out that we don't have a mailbox policy and we need to put one in place. There's a template here, a model regulation for the combination of mailboxes and newspaper delivery boxes on public highway rights-of-ways. And it's a good starting point. Teresa and I have talked already, there need to be some changes to this. Obviously, we want to refer to things in inches and not millimeters and meters for the ease of our residents. It also references setbacks with relation to a designation for each road. And so we want to figure out how we can also let our residents know what the setback needs to be on their road, because there are different recommendations. And so I'm wondering if you all had some additional thoughts or whether or not we could ask our highway superintendent to start to draft something specific with our town attorney, something specific for the town of Red Hook. Perhaps even as early as our next meeting, at least get to look at a draft. Okay.
Is there a particular situation that prompts this, or?
I'd rather not say.
Okay.
I'm sure this comes up in
It's
more
been
than just
something
one.
that we have been discussing for a couple of years now. And it's apparent recently that there is a need for something that speaks to the town of Red Hook, their mailbox policy, and what the standard safety guidelines are for installation.
Right, so we can conform the language to fit maybe.
Yes, we can, there are several examples of other towns that have mailbox policies, so it's not as technical as this, but it will provide you with the same guidelines, and my ultimate goal is to have it be given out with the driveway permits, so when people are doing new installations, they have the information,
And if there are any difficulties with grandfathered mailboxes, we can point to proper installation and setbacks and guidelines, so that's my goal.
Yeah, I think it's something that's, it comes up from time to time. Unfortunately, right now, usually, like, at least when I hear about it, it's people upset because they had to re-site their mailbox because they installed one and then realized like it's in the way or something. It's kind of expensive if you're doing it right, you know, you may have to do concrete and all kinds of things, I don't know.
Well, that's the
You know, so-
issue right there. is
Right, exactly.
A lot of people think that you have to have it fixed in concrete or
And you might
stuck
not,
into
right?
the ground.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to. It's a public safety issue to have an improperly installed mailbox, and by having a policy that outlines what you should and shouldn't do, it becomes a little more clear for the residents,
Yeah.
and they have a little better understanding if there's something that has to be changed.
Yeah, and I think just a lot of residents don't really maybe know where the public right of way versus their property is and where a mailbox should be in relation to all of that. And so anyway, I think a clear policy is gonna help everybody.
This is the post office's, this instructions, right?
Yes, that's just an example.
And it says, no concrete, do not use concrete.
Right, mailboxes are one of those things in the right of way that are allowed, but they are not supposed to be fixed objects.
Very good, so, since we have almost a month between our next meeting, if you could provide us with a few different example of approaches that other communities have taken, then maybe we could model something that's Red Hook specific based on that, that would be great. Very good, thank you very much. We're at the point where we have correspondence. So I have just a couple things. One is from the Department of Transportation. I was copied and shared with you a letter from New York State DOT sent to Dutchess County DPW Commissioner Bob Balkind on our speed limit reduction request for Bud's Corners Road between 9G and Whalesback Road. They are saying that they are going to take a look at that request and assign it to their traffic and safety group for review. They're getting numerous requests to review traffic conditions at various locations. It may take a while, they say, before they review this matter, but they will investigate it. I should tell you that DOT has turned down our requests for Forest Park, Rockefeller Lane, and Pitcher Lane. We've made all those requests and they have turned down our requests. And certainly in the case of Forest Park, I didn't really get any kind of an explanation, but what the engineer there did help me with is direct me to sort of how we came to be in this situation. He reminded me of something that I was not aware of, which is back in 1986, the town of Red Hook, resolution number 7, determined that it wanted to have all its local roads at an increase of 35 miles per hour. It's 1986
So
resolution
what happened
number
to that
7.
resolution, you know?
Well, there's a whole series of resolutions. That's only one of many, many, many resolutions that were taken care of back and forth between the town and the, because Teresa and I did this research several years ago, and Sue actually, with the Department of Transportation, and we found sort of the records for all of the resolutions. I don't have that record with me today, but it's not as simple as one resolution.
Well, the
Quite a
resolution,
few.
I'll read
You
you
know, I
what
know,
the
it's-
intention of
It's
the
all
road
roads,
was.
35 miles.
It says, speed limit 35 miles per hour on all town roads. It was a resolution offered by, at the time, Councilman Dwight Williams, seconded by Albert Punike, and carried unanimously. We're at the town board and superintendent of highways, after due consideration in the interest of the welfare of all concerned, establish an area speed restriction within the town of Red Hook that speed limit being 35 miles per hour, and that's dated February 11th, 1986. So it's something we're working from.
Right, we know why it's
Right.
35, but, I mean, that's not the only resolution, because remember, some of them were at 45 or,
Yes.
55, so.
Yes, but my point is, it was not, the town-wide speed limit was lower. And back in 1986,
No, it wasn't.
I think that it was lower in certain areas, not townwide.
Right.
So townwide, they had higher speed limits.
Correct.
So in order to have a consistent speed limit throughout the town roads, they said, and townwide is very unusual. Usually, each road has a different speed limit, but Red Hook is one of the only ones that has a townwide speed limit that has either reduced or raised, in this case, 35 miles an hour.
I think each town has a default speed limit. Yeah.
No, I'll bring you there's a statewide one, I'll bring you the back research that we did last time, just so you have some history on it. But there are linear speed limits and there are area speed limits, and they're sort of two different things, and DOT treats them differently, so.
But I think it's my understanding that each town has a default speed limit if it's not marked. For
Well, this
town
is-
roads.
This is the
Also for
lowest
state.
default speed limit you can have for a town.
Right.
So we have linear speed
town.
limits that are different from that in some areas. Right. Villages can have lower speed limits as a default speed limit.
We right now still have a 55-mile-an-hour speed limit on a sharp curve on Bud's Corner Road.
Well,
I've told people many times, the state, the county, even, it's a
Yeah.
county road.
Well,
We'll
They
see.
don't seem to want to pay attention to it.
Well, no, the county supported our recommendation, Harry, that's what that letter is, in
Well, I've told
response to
them
the
over
county vote.
several times over
Yeah.
the last 10 or 15 years.
One other thing from DOT is that they're letting us know that there's a sign upgrade on I-84 for those of you who take that interstate. Okay, that's all I have before we go into attorney-client. Would anybody like to make any other public comments? Linda?
I know this has been an issue before in the past. Could the attorney to the town please use a microphone? It's very difficult to hear you.
Okay. Thank you, Linda. Okay, before I make a motion to go on attorney-client, wishing you all a healthy and a happy holiday. Thank you very much for joining us, and thank you all for coming today. At this time, I would like to make
it's an attorney-client session, it's not an executive session.
attorney-client session. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you want to say something, Teresa?
I thought since you're not going to have another meeting until do you have the recycling event on the calendar?
Yeah, we could announce that. I announced it last meeting, but we can say it again, that it will be, there will be the annual e-waste collection to look forward to January 19th on Saturday. I think typically we hold it at the same hours, the recycling center's open, like 8:30 to
8 to 1.
8 to 1, thank you.
Is that including electronics?
So that's specifically including electronics besides the normal recycling situation over there.
And do you need a recycling permit to participate in the
You
e-waste
don't need a
event?
recycling permit to participate in the e-waste event. There will be a fee associated with any video, screen drop-offs, not just the CRT, which is like the boxy type of monitor, which is what it was in the past, but actually also including flat screens, and that will be based on the size of the screen. And we'll have that posted as soon as we determine it. We're trying to, make sure it's like a fair rate, and we're just basically passing on what the vendor hauler is passing on to us, so trying to make sure that that's fair and like easy to handle, so we're not saying like, weird prices for different sizes.
Can you send me some info on it?
Yeah,
Because,
I will, but we haven't determined it yet, but I'll just send
Gotten a
you.
few phone calls.
Yeah, I'm already, okay, great, yeah, Ed and I are working on it, and we
Okay.
have the list from the vendor.
Okay.
Great. So we'll have more information at our January 8th meeting. That'll be plenty of time to notice folks with the details. And yeah, that's a great event. And thank you all to those of you who help out with that. Okay, at this time, attorney-client, all in favor?
Well,
Aye.
you move 2 seconds, please.